The episode begins in fuck you! Fuck you, no! God damn it, you just had to open old wounds, didn't you? No, it's okay. This isn't the Rainbow Falls episode. It's a whole new story, and it deserves to be judged on its own merit. Let me just take a minute to find my happy place. Ah, there we go. Anyway, the main six are back in Rainbow Falls for the annual trade fair. Twilight's there on official princess duty to help resolve any disputes that might come up, but everyone figures that as long as they're here, they might as well do some actual trading too. The majority of the story follows Rainbow Dash, who goes on a fetch quest with Fluttershy to get a first edition Daring Do book. We also follow Rarity and Applejack, who pool their resources and then argue about what to get. And finally, Twilight tries to get rid of some old books, when she isn't being surrounded for pictures and autographs, or being overwhelmed by Pinkie. Man, they sure are getting a lot of mileage from the hiding in your wings move. It's a good thing that's so adorable. Oh, and Spike is here too. Kinda. It's ironic too, because the Spike segments actually reference power ponies, the whole point of which was to remind everyone just how important Spike is. Well, goodbye for the rest of the episode. Rainbow tries to pull one over on the Daring Do trader by offering her lucky rusted horseshoe, but it turns out what the other pony actually wants is a two-headed dog, also called an Orthros. But in order to get the Orthros, Rainbow will have to track down a lamp, a chicken statue, a crystal chalice, and grill burgers at a fast food stand. You know, I realize that trading is the whole point here, and we might assume that the ponies didn't bring any extra bits with them, but this kind of problem is exactly why the concept of money was invented in the first place. In real life, coins and paper bills are given value so that we don't have to go through 6 different middlemen just to get one item. And besides, the only rule is that both ponies have to get something they want. There's no reason someone couldn't just say, "Hey, would you like some money for that book?" "Why, yes, I would. Here you go." Meanwhile, Applejack finds a vintage pie tin that will help cut down on her baking time. Okay, even if it was originally made from superior material, it looks like it's covered in rust. Please don't tell me you're gonna put food in that. On the other hand, Rarity wants an antique brooch that's identical to the one that she's already wearing, but it's older and more valuable. Applejack tries to make a point by mixing the two brooches up to see if Rarity can tell the difference. However, it seems that AJ screwed herself over because even she can't tell which one is which, even though she's the one who mixed them up. I originally thought there was going to be something else to this, like they would end up giving the wrong one back to the trading stand or whatever, but nope, Rarity just takes one and it never gets brought up again. Still, I like how AJ and Rarity ultimately end up trying to out-friend each other while Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash keep running back and forth in the background. Speaking of which, the two Pegasi finally get the Orthros, losing Fluttershy's bear call in the process, but by the time they make it back to the Daring Do trader, the other pony changes her mind after seeing how uncontrollable the Orthros is. Fluttershy has it under control, of course, and says it just takes a while to train them. And so, Rainbow Dash gets her book, and all it cost her was Fluttershy. What? What? I don't even know what show I'm watching anymore. Meanwhile, Twilight's about to trade her books for some piece of junk, but Pinkie tells her it would be against the rules if she didn't trade for something she really wanted. Actually, Pinkie, the whole point was to make extra room in the library, so she is getting something she wanted. But Pinkie starts giving the impression that nothing the other ponies have is good enough to trade for the princess's books. And eventually, Twilight agrees, deciding that they still have sentimental value, even driving the point home by holding up the book she was reading during Spike at Your Service. Okay, between that and the Rainbow Falls reference, that's strike 2. Look, I've held on to things for sentimental reasons. I understand that's something that people do, but that doesn't mean you have to. Twilight already had a perfectly valid reason for getting rid of the books, and she was ready and willing to do it. The library is overflowing. I can see how this might make a good lesson, just not in this context. But then Rainbow Dash comes up and tells Twilight to cancel her trade after realizing that selling her friend was probably a bad idea. But Twilight says it's okay as long as everyone agreed to it. You know, I can only imagine how this would play out if you replaced Fluttershy with Zecora. Oh, the shitstorm that would start up. Do I even need to say how fucking terrible this is? Of course they agreed to it. That's how the deal got made in the first place. The whole reason Twilight's there to mediate is because of that moment afterward when someone realizes they got ripped off or made a mistake. But finally they all go, "Selling killing your friends is bad. That was so beautiful. And they all go home. Fluttershy inexplicably doesn't go back to pick up the bear call, but she still gets the bird call that she wanted in the first place. Pinkie congratulates herself for turning Twilight into a hoarder, and even though AJ and Rarity didn't get what they really wanted, they still get each other some small gifts to show that they care. And the makeup sex will be epic. Overall, this was a very cute, enjoyable episode, and I think that's all it was really trying to be. But as for the lessons, well, I think the episode gets it half right. Like I said, Twilight's segment had potential, but it ultimately got botched. As for that other thing, I think a lot of people had a problem with Rainbow Dash's segment because of just how far it goes, even bringing up the suggestion of slavery at the end. But rather, I think the lesson was supposed to be about keeping your priorities in check and not putting lesser value on your friends than on something else that's ultimately superficial. And for the message the show is trying to convey, it sets up a very effective metaphor. We can understand why Rainbow would be so excited about the book and why her competitive nature might make her momentarily forget about Fluttershy's well-being. In real life, people do sometimes take advantage of their friends for their own personal gain, and they don't always treat each other fairly in return. Maybe someone's constantly asking for a ride somewhere or borrowing something that they never give back. There are a million examples of this, and it could be something that's happened to you, or maybe you've done it to someone else. And the funny thing is, even if we are the ones at fault, we still tend to justify our actions in our own mind. The show illustrates how horribly wrong-headed this is by literally having Rainbow sell her friend for a book. Yes, the implication of slavery is very extreme, but it's supposed to be. It's something that we in the audience can immediately look at and say, hey, this shouldn't be happening. And Rainbow's a complete idiot if she doesn't come to her senses, which she does. In fact, not only does she learn the lesson completely on her own, she's on the verge of tears when she realizes what she did. And it's actually very sweet to see her fight to get Fluttershy back in the end. Though honestly, Twilight still has to learn to do her job better. Tradia gets a 6 out of 10. No, for real this time. But if you enjoyed this video and would like to help me make even better videos in the future, please consider making a donation through Patreon.